Very own Gregory Strecker. Thank you very much.
Recording in progress.
Thank you very much. Just want to remind everyone the two emergency exits in the event there's emergency for evacuation. There's one door at the very end behind the board of directors. You would go out through that door directly out into the parking lot. We would meet in the parking lot next to the street. If that emergency exit is blocked, then the two doors behind us next to the public, we go through those doors, go down the stairs, do not use the elevator in event of evacuation, exit out into the parking lot, and we would also meet in the parking lot next to the street. Again, in the event of evacuation, do not use the elevators, proceed to those designated assembly areas, and roll call will be conducted. In the event of earthquake, make sure we drop, cover, and hold on. Remain in place until the shaking stops, and evacuate only when it is safe to do so. Again, do not use the elevators in the event of evacuation. In the event of a fire, again, evacuate immediately via the stairs. Do not use the elevators. And fire extinguishers are available for trained personnel. And pull the fire alarms only if you happen to see a fire alarm as you're evacuating. In the event of emergency, we have a first aid kit and AED available downstairs in the lobby. 911 will be contacted if it. In the event of an active threat, run if it is safe to do so. Hide and silence your devices, and fight only as a last resort. And remember, stay calm, follow instructions, and prioritize your safety. Questions?
I'll proceed with a roll call.
Director Downing? Here. Director Dutra is absent today. Director Colin Terry Johnson? Present. Director Koenig?
Here.
Director Leonore?
Here.
Director Lynn? Here. Director Martinez is absent. Director Newsom?
Present.
Director Orbach? Here. Director Orozco? Here. And Director Pagler?
Here.
And ex officio Director Marquez, ex officio Director Riskin.
Here.
And we have quorum.
Very much. Because Director Roscoe is joining us on Zoom, we'll conduct all votes via roll call. We're now going to recess to our SCCIC meeting. This is once a year treat, and our chair of the SCCIC is in fact Director Colin Terry Johnson. So I'll turn it over to her to open the speak.
Thank you. And before I ask for roll call, just a reminder for all of us that the SCCIC is the Santa Cruz Civic Improvement Corporation. It's an independent agency established in 1986. It's a nonprofit public benefit corporation organized to provide financial assistance to the Santa Cruz Metropolitan Transit District by acquiring, constructing, and financing various facilities, land, and equipment, and the leasing of facilities, land, and equipment for the use, benefit, and enjoyment of the public served by the district. So that is what we're doing. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order. Because we don't need to do a roll call, just call the meeting to order. Move on to agenda item 2, which is acknowledgement of director's appointment to serve as SCCIC board officer. That includes myself as president, Director Downing as vice president, Director Koenig as secretary, Director Donna Lind, who was reappointed on February 27th as treasurer, and Director Newsom as director. Any questions or comments on that agenda item? Okay, now we will go to agenda item 3, which is roll call.
Director Colin Terry Johnson?
Present.
Director Downing? Present. Director Koenig?
Here.
Director Lynn? Director Newsom?
Present.
And we have quorum.
Great. Agenda item 4, oral and written communication. Are there members of the public that would like to speak about the SCCIC, matters that aren't on the agenda, but that pertain to SCCIC? Anyone online?
There are none.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 5, which is additions and deletions to the agenda. All right. Moving on to agenda item 6, approve prior year minutes of March 28th, 2025, which is in our packet, included as attachment B. Are there any questions or comments from directors? Any comments from the public? I'll bring it back for a motion to approve.
Approval.
Second.
I think that was Director Lind and was simultaneous, so I'll give it to Director Newsom as a second. Roll call for approval or just voice?
All of you are present, so I think we can do the voice.
Yes. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously. Item number 7 is acceptance of financial statement for FY 25, which is included in our packet as attachment C. Any questions or comments from directors? Okay, any comments from the public? I'll bring it back for a motion. Director Lynn moves,
Second.
Director Koenig seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously, and we will move to agenda item 8, which is adjourn to the next SCCIC Board of Directors meeting, which will take place in 1 year's time, March 26, 2027. Thank you. That was the easiest meeting I've had to facilitate.
Thank you very much. We'll go back to the Board of Directors meeting for Santa Cruz Metro, and on to item 6, announcements. Today's meeting is being broadcast by Community Television of Santa Cruz County. Thank you very much. And unfortunately, language line will not be available today to provide Spanish interpretation services. If you do need any help with translation of the meeting after words, we'd be happy to find somebody to assist you. We'll move on to item 7, Board of Directors comments. Any director wish to share?
Good morning, everyone. I just want to let you know that we're working on Week Without Driving. It's early this time. And what we're looking forward to doing this year is to have every one of our Metro directors host a ride with their municipality or with their county constituents. And so you can look forward to hearing from us on that.
Any other director comments? All right, seeing none, we'll open it to oral written communications from the public. It's an opportunity for members of the general public to address any item not on the agenda today, which is within the subject matter jurisdiction of this board. Please approach the podium.
Hello, and good morning, directors, attendees. My name is Ben Finca. I am a bus operator and I am a member of Smart 23, but I'm addressing you today as a volunteer with the Friends of Santa Cruz Metro. And I understand that while you're wearing your Metro hats, you can't promote or endorse anything that we're doing. But I did want to just put the information out there that we need help. We are at nearly 2,200 signatures, but to be on track for our 12,500 goal, we need to be at around 7,000 now. And we have a good number of volunteers. We have about 90 volunteers, but there's maybe a core of dedicated volunteers. There's maybe 15 or 20. And so we need to get the word out. And not only do we need more people on the ground collecting signatures, but we need people who are helping on the back end. We are all volunteers. We all, for the most part, have full-time jobs, and coordinating volunteers and creating marketing materials and printing our materials and yada, yada, yada. We need it all. And so if you can spread the word, and I know that already some of you on your own time are helping with our initiative in your own ways, but we need help from the ground up. And so if there's anything you can do, please get in contact with me or with any other of our volunteers with Friends of Santa Cruz Metro. We have our website up now, and that is friendsofscmetro.org. And all of our contact information will be there. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public here in chambers? Anyone else, anyone online?
There are none.
All right, we'll move to item 9, labor organization communications.
I'm in the general chair for Smart 23. Just to add a little bit to my colleague Ben, Friends of Santa Cruz Metro is doing a kickoff today for our measure. And we're looking to put it on the November ballot. It's gonna be at 444 Front Street today. Starts at 12 o'clock. We'd appreciate everybody to show up. There's buttons, There's gonna be clipboards if you're ready to collect signatures with us. There's gonna be pizza, there's gonna be drinks. Come out and meet everybody that's volunteering, that's helping out, and we look forward to seeing you all there.
Morning, board. My name is Gabby and I'm the SEA chapter. Pretty much I'm up here because I'm asking for the board and management. We're about to go to negotiations for our MOU. And we've proposed an extension to our current MOU. We're asking support for you guys to address our current issues that are most important to us, which is addressing the wage compaction issue that we're currently having within a lot of our SEIU positions. We're asking for also clarity on the way that the progressive discipline is currently addressed within house. We're also asking for a little bit more clarity on this whole layoff in regards to the fiscal cliff that we're currently facing. If we can get more clear information from you guys on how that's really gonna affect staff, not just necessarily us, but also our counterparts, Smart. I think if everybody's on the same page, instead of kind of hearing a lot of rumors, we can kind of put an end to that kind of stuff and everybody can progress more positively and improve morale in a very trying time for us right now. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. My name is Chris Rivera. I'm a facilities maintenance worker, Metro, vice president for SCA chapter for SEIU. I stand before you today as someone who has dedicated nearly 8 years of my life to this organization. Every single day, I show up ready to give my best. I work hard. I support my coworkers, and I do my part because I believe in one team, Santa Cruz Metro. This job has never been about getting rich. It's about purpose, service, and being part of something bigger than myself. It's about helping keep our community moving, and I take pride in that. Well, pride alone doesn't pay rent. Dedication alone doesn't cover groceries, childcare, or rising living costs. Like many of my colleagues, I am simply trying to continue living in the community I serve and love. I want to be able to support my family and meet my basic needs and live with dignity. All I am asking for is fairness, fair wages that reflect the work we do, commitment we show, and the essential role we play every day. Wages that allow us not just to survive, but to remain part of this community. Without being pushed out by costs we can no longer keep up with. I am here because I care about this job, about this team, and about this community. I am asking you to show that same care for the people who keep the system running. Thank you.
I got nothing prepared, but hello, everybody. Miguel Estrada from BMU and president. And I'm here to say that this year, going to the table and Corey wants to be fair. So we'll see if there's fairness on the table. What it is, it's, I think we're the only agency that has the biggest hydrogen fleet. So therefore, see if you guys can see it. That, I mean, we proposed something and take that into account. Just knowing that we have the biggest hydrogen fleet and no other agency has more than 5 hydrogen buses. So take that into account. And been here Metro for quite a bit, just working on these buses, and it's just a whole different animal. Not only for me, but all my mechanics. So please, you guys can take that into account.
Hello, my name is Ken Bear. I'm the president of SEIU 521 City Contract. I'm here to address you today on behalf of our brothers and sisters in SEIU. We've heard their concerns and we support them fully, not only in backing them in their negotiations and how that may turn out, but also we're backing Friends of Santa Cruz Metro in their efforts to raise funds. So I'd like to come back here once negotiations are done and thank you for their consideration on their behalf. Thank you and have a good day. If you can.
Right, seeing no one, sir, anyone online? I do not believe we have at this moment any additional documentation or additions or deletions to the agenda. Maybe we can. All right. Then we'll proceed with the consent agenda. Do any directors have comments or questions on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none of that, any public comment on the consent agenda? Online?
There is a hand raised.
All right.
His hand raised.
Michael, you have a comment for us on the consent agenda?
Good morning. Good morning, directors. Michael Pimentel, I'm a partner with Shaw, Yoder, Antwi, Schmelzer, and Langen. You're a legislative advocate in Sacramento. Of course, I've observed that renewal for our contract is on the consent calendar today, item 11.6. And just wanted to take a few moments to just voice my appreciation for the longtime relationship between my firm and Metro, which is proposed to continue under this item. It's been an absolute honor to represent you here in the state capitol, and my firm has represented this agency now for several decades, having first been brought on under our previous lead partner, Josh Shaw. And so on behalf of my firm, just wanted to thank you all for the continued show of support and faith in the work that we're doing, and look forward to many years more of support of the mission of Santa Cruz Metro. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pimentel. Any other online comments?
There ain't none.
All right, I'll turn it to the board for action. I move approval. Motion by Director Pegler, seconded by Vice Chair Orbach to approve the consent agenda. No further discussion. Have a roll call vote, please.
Director Downing?
Aye.
Director Colin Johnson?
Aye.
Director Koenig?
Aye.
Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director Lynn? Aye. Director Newsom?
Aye.
Director Orbach? Aye. Director Orozco? You're.
Aye.
Director Pegler?
Aye.
And the motion passes.
All right, consent agenda is passed. Well, now to item 12, which is the presentation of some employee longevity awards. And first up, we have one for our Chief Financial Officer, John. This fine certificate is for you. Would you like to?
Look at him just turning around.
Anything you want to say?
No, I just remember Larry saying, it's 2 years before you acclimate yourself here and actually be a person, and it goes through my head all the time, if I think about it, so now I don't even think about the fact that I came from somewhere else and came here.
Happy to have you.
Oh, thanks, happy to be here.
Not an insignificant. And next up, we have a certificate of appreciation for Rob Willis. Rob here?
No, he's
Darn it. Well, 10 years as a facilities maintenance supervisor. Thank you very much, Rob. And with 25 years, our current lead mechanic, Jason Lojaducci. Jason. Nice of you for you.
Awesome. Hey, guys.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right, and with that, we'll move on to item 13, which is to approve fiscal year 27 and 28 preliminary operating budget and fiscal year 27 capital budget portfolio. And for the presentation, we have our Chief Financial Officer, Chuck Farmer.
All right, thanks. Oh, good. Got it up. Thanks, sure, guys. So presenting the budget, this is the first round of the budget. So there are going to be changes, but we need to do this. Is this has to get to RTC, so consolidate it into the countywide budget. It is on. Maybe. Oh, there we go. Just all right. All right, so I'm gonna walk through kind of our preliminary assumptions at this point. Like I said, there's still more work to do before we come back in May. This is the first time. First off, we're holding the fares flat year over year. That's why we have reimagined metros rolled out. So of course, we're holding the fares flat at this point, dollar wise. Sales tax measure D right now, it's basically roughly about a 2% growth over FY 26 budget. But I'm sorry, forecast over the budget is much higher, but we're actually looking like we're coming in year over year flat. Whereas we actually initially budgeted it down, coming down. So, you know, good or bad, I'm not going to talk about the why it's up, but the idea here is we're just growing just a little bit on the sales tax side. Big thing here is our TRSA expires in FY 27. So this is our one-time money. We have a good amount of money, over $7 million that we'll be able to use in FY 27, but then it goes away. So we'll have to figure that out. And like I said, we have some money that Derek has got, which is the ASIC grant and some other funding that help kind of offset it, but it's not nearly enough as what we see in the person side. On the expense side, right now, we're expecting no COLA increases as of July 1st because both contracts expire as so that's basically there. The only thing you do see is step increases as people hit their anniversaries, they move up the ladder. As well as we expect benefit increases. Big thing there is, like I said, year over year benefits just keep exploding and we have no control of that. Headcount is pretty flat year over year. We're not looking to grow headcount at all. The hydrogen fleet, we expect all 53 buses in service. And I make that a point because hydrogen fuel is much more expensive than our current CNG pricing. So as we roll out the buses, we expect our fuel costs to go up. But we go hydrogen, which is what people want to see. And then one of the other things, and I think this is actually good news, but it's not in here, are unfunded liability. So this is our pension that's sitting down in CalPERS right now. They've returned pretty bad returns, so we've had to make it up and they call it a UAL balance. We actually have to pay the difference. We're about 2 years behind in actually kind of updating what our contribution should be for that UAL, or in this case, fully funded. So to give you an idea, we have to return 6.8% for every year. If we go less than that, we're going to owe money. If it goes more than that, great, it's overfunded and we can use that prior next year and so forth. In 23-24, it came in at 9.3%, which is great news because that will help pay for this UAL. And then in 24-25, it was 11.6. So this is great news, but I can't tell you the dollars. So our UAL is based off of prior to those numbers. So we're funding it. So we're hoping at least we'll get $2, maybe $3 million a year back that we do not have to pay in this UAL. But we won't know this for 6 months or something of that nature, till they get back. And then, of course, retiree healthcare, like I said, that's all driven not by the number of people retiring, but actually because of healthcare costs going. So I'm gonna move on to the next slide. I'm not gonna go through this eye chart of numbers per se, but the biggest thing here is, our operating surplus and deficit, if you notice from 26 to 27, is about $4 million worse, even though we're flat. Again, it's step increases, it's a transition over to fuel, the hydrogen fuel, and then, of course, inflationary factors that kind of factor in. That's really going to drive the bottom line on 27. And then even in 28, it's still the same issue. You have step increases, benefit increases, and the hydrogen fuel pricing, like I said, it's up there. Down below, on the other hand, here's where you really see the difference, and this is why I talk about the TRSA piece. So in 27, our TRSA funding actually drops from 9.1 to 7.4. And then the other piece too is that we get a little bit of ASIC funding that's sitting in there. It's actually in the numbers. But then if you go to 28, then it's at 0. So somehow or another, we need to come up with some kind of fix or something to kind of cover that gap. In which, by the way, since it is 27, we got to present 2 years. This assumes no sales tax measure passes, but we continue with running Reimagine Metro. So there's not like we put cuts in here to scale back, but at the same point too, we also are not assuming that it's going to pass in 27 or 29 or 28 anytime a new sales tax measure. And then ultimately, our operating surplus deficit goes from 4 million to 7.8 million, and then it jumps up dramatically to 18. And that's because most of that is the TRSA grant falling. So we don't have money to cover it. Then moving on here, as I mentioned earlier, headcount right now is flat. And then you see kind of one in here, half a person and so forth. We did fund a transit supervisor this year in 26. It's not included in the budget, but we did it after the budget was approved. So we're really at 413.5. We're at 413.5 going into 27. And the half person falling off is Joan in our procurement department. She'll be retiring. So that's basically flat, no changes there. And then on our operating budget, here's how we're getting our total revenues. Most of it is our sales tax measure D, which is 40%. Big other things are TRSA's 9.3. So remember that 9.3 goes to 0 and 28. So we have TDA about 11.7, sticks 7.6. The big thing I want to kind of take a look at right now, the way passenger fares and special transit contracts only make up 12.4%. So as much as we move the needle on, hey, we could do a little bit of pricing scenarios, or for that matter, it's not going to make a material impact on the numbers here. Biggest numbers are going to be our sales tax measures that really will move the needle up and down. Then moving on to our capital side. So currently, these are all the projects that are currently approved and budgeted. These are kind of flow throughs into the next year. So right now, construction related projects is about 13.7, of which most of that is the 8 million for the fueling station and project management, which is going on right now across the street. If we end up spending some of it in 26, it just pulls down this number, but the full project itself is still the same. We have a little bit here for HACCP upgrade and contactless fare payment systems. And then we're going to have a residual to pay for the rest of the buses and hydrogen buses that are coming in, because we've already accepted, I think, all the 40-foot buses, and we have one Arctic bus that we've accepted. That leaves 8 more buses to go. So there may be a little bit of a timing issue, but for right now, 7.5 million. So if we get to the year, if we pay for 2, then this number comes down by 2, but it's still the same amount of money. So I'm not saying we're saving money. It's just the timing of June 30th versus July 1st. And then lastly, we're holding $1 million contingency. I just want to be clear on this number right here. This is our money. We're putting it here. And this is to be used for stuff that comes up through the year that is like your air conditioning breaks, we have to fix it. These are things not really for buses. This has to do with just operationally, we need to fix something. And that's what that money's for. Cars start to break down, we can't fix them. Well, you know what? We may have to purchase a car and this comes out of our money. We hope we don't use it, but there's a potential. And then also if we have to do a matching for something big, we'll pull the money. Then on our capital, this is how our money, most of it's coming from our one-time TRSA funding. This is the buses and hydrogen and so forth. That's the biggest number right here. The one place I want to focus over is where it says operating capital reserve fund. Again, this is our money. And we're using 23.2% of our money to pay for this portfolio of 41.7 million. So you say $10 million of that, round numbers, is coming out of our own bank account. So this is already programmed. A lot of this is matching money that we've programmed against, buying the buses, as well as across the street with the hydrogen tank and so forth of that nature. I know Derek's working diligently to see if we could get grants to kind of cover the gap, and then this money goes back. But for right now, this is how we have it today. And then lastly, our budget timeline. Again, today is the first view of the budget. It doesn't mean that's going to be our final budget. I mean, it could be relatively different. But like I said, we'll come back again in May and present another budget at that point in time. Hopefully have a little bit more clarity around where we're actually going at that point. And then, of course, in June, we'll come back and that'll be ask for our final budget. And if we don't have full clarity, we'll still ask for the final budget, and then we'll come back at some later date and ask for an updated budget. And that's it. Anybody got questions?
Comments from Director Riskin?
If you could go back to slide 4, that's had a couple of questions. You talked about how the deficit jumps from 47 to 17. You didn't talk, or I may have missed it, kind of down at the bottom, that we're using the COVID fund to kind of somewhat bail ourselves out completely in the next year, and then another 9 million next year and 16 million. What's that? Will that deplete that fund?
Yeah, it depletes in FY 28 by the 3 million. That's 3.1 million. We run out. And at that point, if that depletes, then we start pulling the money from our bus replacement fund and other reserves, and then ultimately go into our kind of more restricted cash. This is like our 3-month reserve sustainability. So we keep the agency running, as well as our cash flow, which is like, was it $3 million that we hold aside for ebbs and flows and so forth. Now, the one thing that this is really hard to show is the fact that we do have some money that's sitting in grants receivable that's coming from the authority paid. And when that money comes in too, that will help, but it doesn't answer the COVID questions. The fact that that's their money gone. And we are.
And just 2 other small questions. The non-personnel is going up 8.6%. Is that mostly the fuel?
That's the fuel.
And I assume it's been like this, but I hadn't really noticed before. The fringe is extremely high percentage relative. It's like 90% of the labor costs. And
Yeah, so
like 55.
So
That
yeah,
seems
it's
extraordinarily.
I'm not sure how you guys report it, and it's a little bit different because of being here. So in our fringe, we look in our salary line, the very top line, only those hours that an employee works. So all their vacation and sick leave are accrued in the fringe, as well as pension as well. So it really
And
elevates.
healthcare.
And well, and of course, healthcare, vision, dental, all that stuff is down below too. And then there's also, if employees get like uniform allowance, driver's license, and all that, right? That all gets booked in there, so it drives that number up higher. So it makes it look worse. Christina and I kind of talked about this too, is coming back in the future and kind of saying, all right, here's what the employees get paid, regardless whether it's vacation, sick leave, whatever. And then here's your true benefits against it. And I think it's gonna level set down around like 34, 35% instead of 100%.
Thank
you. Okay.
Can I follow up on the fuel questions? My understanding is Arches, which was a group we were a member of, it was pretty much lost its federal funding. Is that an accurate read of the condition of hydrogen fuel right now in California?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a problem. I know we have contracted amounts, it's like 11.25 per kilogram for the next 3 years. That's how that's how it's built here. Not necessarily that we have a loss from Arches, which knows what's gonna,
Yes.
Diving into the weeds a little bit, I noticed on the operations for non-drivers, you had an entry of outside repair equipment that seemed to jump significantly between 2025 and 2026. And I didn't know if you knew why that was.
outside repair equipment.
Yeah.
I believe that's the outsourcing of the PMs for, oh, I'm sorry, what is it? What do we call them? It's the annual maintenance.
It's the engines for the 4,200 buses. So we've done a lot of kind of shoring up our fleet by replacing engines.
Okay. And then one more on this would be the fleet. And it says outside repair revenue for vehicles. That's going down significantly.
Well, because we're getting rid of the vehicles to the folks by proposal.
Right. And then I have one more question about, so you know, when you own a car and you just keep repairing it until you can't anymore get a new car, there's that equation. And for us, we've been, making cars, and trying to get buses wherever we can, and we're replacing them with hydrogen. So is the cost of the hydrogen exceeding what, are we reaping any benefits financially by switching to hydrogen from fixing all vehicle cost to maintain all that?
So of course, we're not fixing the older vehicles. So by using the hydrogen buses, and we're using about 10 of them now, we are reaping some benefit from not fixing the older vehicles.
It's the fuel cost going to end up wiping out.
No, the fuel cost is sensitive.
We're gonna wipe out the savings.
And then some of them couldn't be like Proterra, could it be? No, yeah, Proterra vehicles are not in service at all.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? I will just say that when we reviewed this budget at the Finance and HR Standing Committee, we remembered and recognized the fiscal cliff presentation that Mr. Farmer gave back in November, which basically said that continuing to run the same amount of service after this year without a sales tax in place would not be a great idea and not put this agency in a good place. And so we did, at the committee, ask for, when this budget comes back, really for final consideration. The budget before us today is just really for preliminary, for submission to the RTC to make sure we get our state money that we're claiming. But then when we really take a hard look at approving the budget for next year, we do consider some scenarios where we're two different cut scenarios, one that's admin heavy, one that's service heavy, and the idea being that we'd probably end up with something in between for this board to consider. So when we look at a final budget, we'll put all that on the table, but really for today, it's just get something to the RTC to make sure we get the PDA and stick revenues. All right, no other comment from directors. I'll open it to members of the public. Here, boardroom, want to comment? None? Anyone online? I'll return it to the board for action.
I'll move, approval of the, what's that? Oh, FY 28 preliminary operating budget and FY 27 capital budget portfolio. Think of that.
All right, moved by Director Kalantari Johnson, second by Director Downing. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Director Downing? Aye. Director Kalantari Johnson?
Aye.
Director Koenig?
Aye.
Director Leonor?
Aye.
Director Lynn?
Aye.
Director Newsom?
Aye.
Director Orbach?
Aye.
Director Orozco?
Aye.
And Director Pegler.
Aye.
The motion passes.
All right, thank you. I will proceed with item 14, which is a public hearing to adopt modified fare structure and policy. Presentation by Planning and Innovation Deputy Director Eric Toops.
Good morning, directors. I'm coming to you this morning remote. Apologies for not being present in the boardroom. Returning with the item that we presented to you at our February board meeting on our fare structure and policies, which are proposed to be updated. I'm going to share slides here. Give me one moment. Can everybody see the slides now?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So this morning we have an abbreviated presentation. We're going to provide a quick recap of what we proposed to you last month. I'll provide a little bit of an update on our potential ridership revenue and equity impacts that were updated after receiving board's input last month. And then we'll close with the recommendation that's before you. In terms of the recap, again, what's necessitating the recommended changes to the fare structure and policy is the introduction of contactless payments or debit and credit card acceptance on our bus fleet, which we're proposing to launch now in summer of 2026. The new system will be branded Tap to Cruz, and it'll allow riders to pay with what's in their wallet or on their mobile phone, including any of the major payment brands, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, as well as the mobile wallets like Apple Pay and Google Pay. This is the dominant trend now for fare payment globally and is advancing very quickly. Our agency is very fortunate to have received significant funding from Caltrans and the state to help underwrite the cost of the initial hardware. The proposed changes to the fare structure and policies are very minimal. We're not proposing to remove any existing fare sales channels today, including our cash fare boxes or Splash Pass mobile ticketing app. We are, however, recommending the elimination of underutilized fare products, including a 3-day, 7-day, and 15-ride fare book. We will retain all existing pricing for the other fare channels while introducing and recommending the introduction of fare capping, which will allow a rider to benefit without having to put a large outlay of cash at the upfront of their 31-day or 1-day ride period. We're also recommending an introductory discounted price for the fare caps only on the Tap to Cruise system, which would be $1 off the regular adult day cap or 50 cents off the discounted day cap only on our local service, not on the Highway 17. We're also recommending adjustment to our veteran status. Currently, you have to have a disability as well as veteran status to qualify. In order to align with the state benefit program, we're recommending that all veterans would be eligible so that we could use the VA to automate means testing for that. And finally, our current senior fares begin at age 62 in Santa Cruz County, and we're recommending to standardize those at age 65 so that we can again utilize the state's benefit database for eligibility. We're also recommending to grandfather in existing age 62 to 65 riders through a manual process. This slide shows the current fare policies. And these are the products that we're recommending for elimination. And no other changes are recommended other than the adjustments to the age and the veteran status. And this slide, apologies, the resolution's a little cloudy, but this is the recommended Tap to Cruise fares, which show the discounted prices for the day caps on the local service. We listened to the board's feedback at the February meeting, and one of the comments that we heard was that by introducing fare capping, where staff recommended that we move forward with that policy, knowing that it will likely create a drop in revenue in the first year, that it is still a policy that we strongly believe in. It allows our riders to not have to outlay a large upfront cash for a 31-day product, for example. But any agency that implements fare capping expects to lose revenue in the initial year. We're forecasting about $155,000 drop in revenue. 150,000 of that is attributed to the introduction of capping, and only 5,000 is attributed to the recommended discounted price for the day cap. The two charts on the right of this slide kind of demonstrate why capping tends to reduce revenue. In the first instance, if a rider pays as they go, they currently do not qualify for the benefit of a pass product. But with capping, when they reach that threshold, they'll automatically receive free trips for the remainder of the period. And on the other hand, riders who currently gamble to buy a product up front with the assumption that they'll take a certain number of rides, several of those riders won't actually reach the number of rides to have achieved the return on that investment. And so we will basically be forfeiting that revenue for the riders who don't reach their break even. But again, overall, 1.7% of the fare revenue, or 155,000, is a small amount. Many other agencies have had up to 20% drops when they implemented fare capping. This next slide is just a little bit of a recap of our 2025 rider survey. We added 2 questions to this past year's survey, knowing that we were getting ready to implement the integrated ticketing project. We wanted to understand, do Metro riders currently have access to a bank account or a credit and debit card? And also, how do they pay for other small purchases like coffee or small food items? And the first question returned that over 90% of our riders do have access to at least one contactless fare media. And almost the same number of discount riders possess access to either a credit card, debit card, or a mobile wallet. The second question that's relevant here was how riders pay. And the lower chart shows that over 2/3 of our adult riders, regular adult riders, often prefer to pay for coffee and other small purchases using a credit or debit card or a mobile wallet. And almost 2/3 of our discount riders also said that they typically will pay with a credit, debit card, or mobile wallet. So this data suggests that about 3 out of 4 Metro riders are likely to adopt Tap to Cruise once we launch the system this year. And we'll have about a quarter of our riders that we need to make sure that we're helping them to get over to that new payment method. We wanted to make sure that we're being fiscally prudent. And so one of the things that Director Dutra asked last month was, how do we recover that $150,000 lost revenue? The Visa Economic Empowerment Institute released a report in 2023 that showed, after surveying several agencies and riders, a statistically significant increase in ridership directly attributed to introduction of contactless payments. Contactless payments are one of the most convenient ways for people to ride transit, and it removes many barriers for riders who otherwise might not choose transit. This slide shows 2 things. The first is on the right. The chart is showing how the cost of fare collection is expected to drop as a result of this new fare method. And on the left-hand side, I've added some text that shows that over 75 transit agencies and 3,000 riders conclude that between 4 to 12% ridership gains will occur within the first 2 years following the introduction of contactless open-loop payments. For smaller agencies, this is in the 4 to 6% range, and for larger or more mature agencies, it's in the 10 to 12% range. So based on that, staff has actually done some calculations. We believe that we'll recover the $150,000 drop from capping within the first 2 years, and then at that point, revenue would continue to stay level or increase over the time as the ridership grows. And finally, we updated our equity impact based on the removal of the original proposed discount to the traditional fare channels, including our cash fare box and our Splash Pass. You may recall that staff presented in February a proposal to reduce the price of the day pass on all of the fare channels, and the board directed us to reconsider that for the existing channels. By changing it, we had no noticeable difference in equity impact, which is what we showed last month. Basically, it's still forecasting a 1% difference for non-minority and minority customers, and a less than 1% difference for low-income and non-low-income riders. So we believe that the equity impacts are not immaterial, but very much manageable and well below typical equity impacts for these types of changes. So with that, I want to conclude by saying that staff presented to the Projects and Planning Standing Committee 2 weeks ago, and the committee recommended the board's full adoption of the resolution. And this item in your packet, I believe the resolution is item B, or attachment B to this item 14.1. And this slide shows the recommended resolution that you adopt the fare structure and policies effective with the launch of Tap to Cruise this year. And with that, we're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Questions or comments from directors? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone in the public that wishes to comment on this? Those are too easy today. I do want online. All right, we'll turn to the board for action.
Resolution of the Board of Directors to adopt and modify new fare structure and policies effective with the launch of Captain Cruz integrated ticketing project.
Second that. I moved by Director Downing, second by Director Pagler. Any further discussion? On roll call vote, please.
Director Downing.
Aye.
Director Kalantari Johnson.
Aye.
Director Koenig.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director Lynn.
Aye.
Director Newsom.
Aye.
Director Orbach.
Aye.
Director Orozco.
Aye.
Director Pagler.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Thank you to our planning and innovation team for making that such a good decision for us.
Thank you all.
All right, we'll move on with item 15, which is to approve consideration of contract award to Capuzzi Consulting Group Incorporated for Rapid Corridors project design and engineering services in amount not to exceed $2,723,000, subject to California Transportation Commission approval of funding allocation request. We have our Chief Planning and Innovation Officer, Virgo.
Thank you, Chair. Hope you're as easy on me as the last. So good morning, Chair Koenig and members of the board. Before you today is a recommendation to award an engineering contract for Metro's Rapid Corridors project, one of the most significant capital investments in Metro's history. This project will transform routes 1 and 2 into Metro's first true rapid bus corridors, connecting Watsonville and Santa Cruz along a roughly 17-mile corridor that serves some of our highest ridership, most transit-dependent communities. Staff is recommending the board award a contract to Capuzzi Consulting Group in an amount not to exceed $2,723,000. This contract covers full plan specifications and estimates for the project, including transit boarding islands and bus-only lanes, enhanced bus stops with real-time passenger information signage, improved pedestrian crossings, and coordinated transit signal priority at up to 60 intersections. Metro ran a competitive qualifications-based procurement. 2 firms responded, 5-member evaluation panel, including engineers from the cities of Santa Cruz and Watsonville, ranked Capuzzi highest on technical merit and references. Their team has directly relevant experience designing rapid bus and BRT improvements across California, including projects in San Diego, AC Transit, and San Bernardino County. And the design contract is fully funded through a variety of funding sources. No new local funding is required with this action. And with the contract in place, the CTC did approve the funding last week at their March 19th and 20th meeting. So with your approval, design would begin on Monday. And with construction expected to start in mid-2027. So I have a few slides just to walk through what we're talking about here. You know, this project, or at this stage, kind of feels like a gender reveal of sorts for me. Surprise, it's twins, 2 rapid corridors. We've been working on this since 2021. It started as a planning study. And there's a good, 3 to 4 years left as we finish design and get through construction, but that's a really exciting moment. So I just wanted to remind people where we are and what we're talking about as the remote warms itself up. Just turn it off. Check. It's got to warm up. All right. So the goal here is straightforward: make Metro's core intercity routes faster, more reliable, and easier to access. We started the planning study with actually a year-long process looking into existing conditions. Over 4,500 people ride this corridor every weekday, which is more than 20% of all county transit riders, 60% of whom earn less than $24,000 a year. And field visits And data analysis revealed some serious problems along the corridors. 69% of stops on these two routes lack shelters, 31% lack benches. Buses experience up to 30 minutes of delay per trip from traffic congestion, and dwell time, the time that buses spend in stops alone accounts for up to 40% of travel time. All that is to say, when the bus is on the corridor, half the time its wheels are stopped. Which means that for people traveling, our customers on this corridor, that's their journeys take at least twice as long, and when you factor in walking to the bus stop, waiting for the bus, it's often 3 to 4 times as long as driving an automobile. This project tied into a lot of other plans and programs that we've been working on, and our partners at the city and county have been working on as well. The first was Reimagine Metro, where we realigned the service along routes 1 and 2 to improve frequencies. The first kind of initial thought was this project we were just going to overlay along the county's Santa Cruz County's buffer bike lane project between La Fonda and State Park. As we successfully secured additional funding, we were able to expand that for the entirety of Route 1 and then the entirety of Route 2. So it's 2 corridors now that are roughly 17 miles in length, focused on bus stop improvements within 4 jurisdictions: Santa Cruz County, Capitola, Watsonville, and City of Santa Cruz. And there are 7 types of improvements across 3 categories: bus stop access, bus stop amenities, and bus speed and reliability. The first strategy is enhanced bus stop amenities. And this includes new shelters, seating, lighting, and real-time information at nearly 100 bus stops along these corridors, putting 100,000 Santa Cruz residents within a 10-minute walk of a high-quality bus stop. We also looked at relocation and consolidation of rapid bus stops. So if we're implementing higher frequency on what will be 2 rapid corridors, we're aiming for slightly larger stop spacing than what we would typically have on a local route. So we're looking at about a quarter to a third of a mile stop spacing. And there are a number of stops that we will be relocating and consolidating. One of the major investments of the project is bus bulbs and transit islands at 23 locations. And these serve to allow buses to board without pulling out of traffic, which saves a lot of time from having to merge in and out on congested corridors. And where we can fit a transit island, we're actually going to separate the bike lane from the bus boarding area, so it goes behind the boarding area. Another major component is transit signal priority at up to 61 intersections. And these are intersections where, once implemented, the signals will hold a green time, or the green signal for approaching buses. And this can reduce the trip time by up to 9 minutes per direction. And we also included a bunch of enhanced pedestrian crossings. So there are a lot of locations along Soquel and Capitola Road where it's just not safe to cross the street, or there's not an intersection for a long time. And so we're implementing, I think, 7, it says 19 there, that's from the study. There were recommended 19 locations, but we have 7 funded pedestrian upgrades where we're installing either an upgraded crosswalk, pedestrian hybrid beacons, or rectangular rapid flashing beacons. There are 7 intersections. It says 5 there, but we think we could fund 2 more where we're looking to install queue jumps. And these let buses to get ahead of traffic queues. Save a lot of time on the corridor. And then lastly, there are a number of intersection improvements, and which include the bus only lanes that are currently in downtown Santa Cruz that are temporary, will become permanent, and will extend from that River Street extension at the top of the page all the way down to the transit center, the Rocket Transit Center. So the benefits: 28 to 40% faster travel time from Santa Cruz to Watsonville, depending on direction and time of day. 15% increase in the number of people near a high quality bus stop. and faster service, which means Metro can operate more frequently with the same resources and serve more riders. We did a lot of initial outreach when completing the planning study in 2023. I just want to highlight a few things there, and we have funding in this, what you're approving today. What I hope you'll approve today is doing continued outreach while we go through the design process. But top priorities that we heard from people were improved bus stop amenities, more frequent service, faster trips, exactly things we're trying to deliver through this project. And 52% of respondents said they would ride more if all the improvements were implemented. Packet. And lastly, schedule. So we're here in the red. Again, we hope to kick off the plan specifications and estimates design process on Monday with your approval. That process will last about a year, and then we aim to be in construction by July of 2027. Funding stack for this has evolved over time. Again, like I said, the initial plan was just for one segment on Soquel, but we were able to secure all these additional funding sources. It's a $27 million project now, and our local match is 1.6 million. So we've done really well with funding. A project that will truly be transformational, talking about, again, up to 100 bus stops. So staff recommends approval of this item, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Comments or questions from directors?
I've got one, back to June of last year, Veronica and the back raised concerns about accessibility to islands, to transit islands. And prompted me to try and watch people at islands in other cities just to see what issues arose. I'm sure that will be integrated into this study, but
yeah,
I want to reflag and restate that concern.
One of the reasons that Capuzzi's proposal scored higher is because it specifically addressed that issue within the proposal.
Thank you.
So I noticed that a lot of the work is going to be done in North County. What are you seeing in South County, like Watsonville, improvements? Is there anything in the plans?
Yeah, I mean, if we go back, the routes 1 and 2 travel along Main Street in Watsonville, and then Freedom and Lincoln. So there are significant investments. Every bus stop along the corridor will see a new shelter, real-time information, lighting, and then 2 of the pedestrian crossings are in Watsonville. So.
One more question. So I noticed that Route 1 and 2 are going to get those improvements. I ride 73, and it's a rural area route. And there's a lot of improvements that needs to get done in that area. Yep. Bus stops, or asphalt for our students that get off the bus. So is there anything in the future that we're seeing
Yeah, there is. So that's a great question. This project started with the Caltrans Sustainable Planning Grant that was written in 2021 and were awarded 2022. And within that study, you know, again, the focus was on our highest ridership routes connecting Watsonville and Santa Cruz and how we can improve travel time reliability. The 73 didn't necessarily rise to that highest ridership category at that point. And all of these funding sources for construction, where we're getting the capital money, deal largely with greenhouse gas reduction, and which is tied to ridership in large respect. But to answer your question specifically, we were just awarded another Caltrans planning grant at the end of last year for a bus stop master plan, which will address exactly what you're talking about. And the goal is follow the same model. You know, how can we get from a planning to fundable construction projects that we can improve bus stops? So thank you. Yeah.
Super exciting. Thank you for all the work. I'm just wondering when we get to the construction phase, what the plan is for coordination and communication with the city teams and with the public.
Yeah, so we don't quite know yet. We have an idea of how we'd like that to proceed, which is that, you know, we go through this planning process over the next year. We're kicking off that process with all the cities and counties next week with individual meetings. Our ideal would be to then, once we get to construction, to funnel the construction money to the cities and the county to actually lead the construction process, bid, bid out that work. Deliver the full construction documents and have, that's probably their preferred method as well. But we'll be working that out over the next year of the process. So, we don't typically as Metro build roadway projects, right? But the cities and county do. And so ideally, they would continue to do that. The county presents a good opportunity because they're going to be in construction for the extension of the buffer bike lane project. So there's some good overlap there. And then I know from talking with the city of Santa Cruz that they're interested in taking on construction for our elements as well.
And I'm curious, is that Claire and Matt from our team? Okay.
We met with Matt yesterday and be meeting with them again. That's good.
Thank you.
Great.
So after the committee met and looked at this, I just started looking at full outs on SoCal Drive. Are you just gonna move the sidewalk over? Some of
So
those,
we'll go through the design, but in most cases where we have the space, we'll construct an island where the pullout is, and then the bike lane will basically follow the existing curb line. The bus will stop straight, bikes will go around.
Yeah, I guess I'll just first say, I think this is an excellent investment. There's obviously a lot of empirical support that these kind of investments yield the benefits that are expected. And this slide is pretty impressive as well. I commend you all for the fundraising you've been able to do. My question is, the dollar amounts, your estimates are based on, they're planning level estimates. As you get through design, estimates will change, and ultimately the bids are going to determine what the costs are. In some ways more complex to manage if you do implement through the cities and the county, though it sounds like the right way to do it. So my question is, do you have language in the design contract that's kind of designed to budget so that they can adjust potentially the number of intersections or stops or amenities, so that we know when we get to the end of this that we won't be facing a shortfall?
Yeah. I'd be lying if I didn't say that kept me up at night. But we have some flexibility within, the 7 elements that I went through of being able to shift funding around. The estimates were based on a roughly 35% level of design. So we had the planning study, and then we did some extra design work around that when we went for the last grant, which was the SB Web SCCP. So we think there's enough flexibility and within the project, except for the boarding islands, like that's a quantity that we have to fund on the corridor based on the grant, 23 boarding islands. But it's something that we talked a lot through with Capuzzi into how to make sure that we're designing and funding the project. So I think we'll get there, but yeah, sure. These are, 2023 to 2025 numbers. We did put in cost escalation every 3 to 4 years when we submitted the grant. We have some items that we know are well up to what we think they'll come in at, like bus shelters. I think it was like a $65,000 bus shelter. So we think there's flexibility, but that is always going to be sort of once we go to construction.
And it may benefit to develop some prioritization criteria in advance and be vetted by the public and the boards.
Yeah.
You have clear guidance on how to make adjustments if needed. And also to do, especially if you're dispersing a bidding to bid with alternates so that you don't have to rebid if things come in.
Those are great suggestions.
But it's a great project.
Questions? Question about the transit signal prioritization. I think we just put in 21, 22 smart lights on SoCal Drive with the first phase of that project. Are those being used today? Or we're kind of waiting for the full implementation or along the whole corridor with these additional 60 or so intersections for our buses taking advantage of?
The latter. We're waiting for the full implementation of the corridor just to confirm that we're going to use the same technology before we go out and purchase the transponders for the buses. And do the extra signal work. It'll be compatible with that segment. But so, we might be able to advance that part sooner, as because one of the first things like Cruz is gonna do or for their subs is a trans sigma priority study and recommendation for. But we might be able to advance it sooner if the thought was to wait until we confirm what we want to do.
20 lights who are listening, but the buses aren't talking.
Exactly.
All right, comments from the public on this item? Anyone online? Then I'll return to the board for action. Each. Recommended actions by Director Pagler, seconded by Director Newsom. Any further discussion? All those in favor, roll call vote.
Director Downing.
Aye.
Director Colin Johnson. Director Koenig.
Aye.
Director Leonore.
Aye.
Director Lynn. Aye. Director Newsom.
Aye.
Director Orbach. Aye. Director Orozco.
Aye.
And Director Pagler.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
That's unanimously, thank you. To item 16, our CEO's oral report.
Okay.
All good.
All right. So on March 6th, the Metro's HR team celebrated the employees by presenting every employee with a special gift, recognizing their hard work, dedication, and commitment to riding the waves of excellence together. Very funny. All right. On March 10th, Metro proudly launched its new employee recognition program. Along with being honored at Metro board meetings, employees celebrating milestone anniversaries will now receive a custom Metro anniversary pin, as we saw today, and a monetary award redeemable for gift cards or Metro branded. Early feedback has been enthusiastic. Programs already having a positive impact. On March 18th, we celebrated Transit Employee Appreciation Day. Riders and fellow employees honored Metro's incredible bus and Cruz operators and employees with heartfelt notes of appreciation, recognizing the essential role they play in keeping our community moving every day. To celebrate the occasion, the Metro's operations department brought in a food truck and a special thank you for the dedication to safety, service, and helping riders reach their destinations. Since the last board meeting, I've had the opportunity to give a presentation on Metro's activities to the Democratic Club of North Santa Cruz County, the Capitola City Council, and the Santa Cruz County Business Council. Last week, I attended APTA's CEO seminar in Monterey. This event provides an opportunity for transit CEOs across the country to speak candidly about the management, policy, and quality of life challenges unique to our roles, as well as ample opportunity for networking and open discussion. Earlier this week, I was in Sacramento to visit with our state representatives and provide testimony to the Assembly Elections Committee on Bill AB 1919 that would provide Metro with the election procedures and our authorizing statutes and make it clear how local voters may pursue place a citizens initiative on the ballot. The bill was presented by Assembly Member Pellegrin with additional testimony operated by Jaime Renteria, the general chairperson for Smart Local 23. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Comments or questions from directors? Any public comments? Online? Okay, thank you very much. This is a non-action item. So we'll proceed with items to be discussed in closed session. Herman, anything that we're announced?
Yeah, we have two closed sessions. The first is public employee performance evaluation. The position is for the CEO, general manager. The second closed session is conference with labor negotiators for the following bargaining units: Smart Local 23 Fixed Route, Smart Local 23 Paracruz, and NCIU Local 521. For the public, there is not anticipated to be any reportable action coming out of either closed session.
And I believe we're going to meet for closed session in this room just behind me here. Thank you, everyone.
Any public comments?
Oh, sorry, any public comments on any of the items to be discussed in closed session? Anyone online?
There are none.
All right, then we will move to closed session.
And then we have one. Are you gonna go? Is that, if I want?